Hello there. My name is Bill Reedway. I'm the Vice President of Solutions Management at MicroStrategy, and I'm happy to say welcome to the HyperIntelligence channel at our first ever virtual MicroStrategy World. I'll be with you for 20 or 30 minutes of presentation time, and then we'll open it up for Q&A. And I hope that you will stick around with us for the afternoon to learn everything that there is to know about HyperIntelligence. Now, before we get started, I'd like to take a few minutes to talk a little bit about who we are, what we do, and why we're in this business. MicroStrategy's motto is intelligence everywhere. We want to eliminate the barriers between people and the information that they need to do their jobs. I think it's fair to say that there's never been a more important time for us to be able to separate fact from speculation, intuition from informed insight, to develop a shared version of what's true and what's reliable. This is true in our professional lives. It's also true in our personal and social lives. And the solutions that we bring to bear in order to make this vision a reality, well, they not only make businesses more profitable, but they make the world a more connected and livable place. And I think that, as you'll see, hyperintelligence is a material step in this direction, because unlike a lot of other tools out there, it does endeavor to bring intelligence everywhere and to everyone. So let me begin with a bit of a scary number. 97%. 97% of all real-time business decisions are data deprived. Now this may seem strange, it may seem unintuitive, but if you think about it, it's not all that surprising. Because we move fast, our customers move fast, our employees move fast. There are enormous demands on our attention and the attention of the people that we work with. And for better or for worse, most of us don't have the luxury of leisurely decision making. We don't have hours or even minutes. Most of the time we have seconds. What is the product that I need to offer to this customer to keep him or her in the store? What's the likelihood that this particular caller will hang up the phone and I'll lose their business if I put them on hold or transfer them to another department? What's the top risk in my inventory, and what supplier is going to help me refill it at the best price? These are the kinds of decisions that people make every day, every second, and typically they are not made with the benefit of real concrete data. Now, we've talked to our customers and we've tried to identify, well, why is this? How have we gotten to this point? It's a little bit of an indictment of the business intelligence industry, if you think about it. Well, we've learned that there are three main issues. The first is time. As I mentioned, people rely on their intuition. They rely on their gut because they're either unwilling or they're unable to take the time which is necessary to get the data that's relevant to that decision. Because usually it means switching applications, potentially picking up the phone to calling somebody. And it's typically simply not practical in the moment to make those decisions. Second is skill. Most people, for better or for worse, are not analysts, right? Most people do not live and breathe business intelligence the way that MicroStrategy does. Most of the people have jobs. They're either in sales or they're in finance or they're in HR, and that's a good thing. We don't want everybody to be analysts, but we do want to give everybody access to the data that's going to help them do their jobs. But most people don't have that. Most people don't have that gear. And the third is inclination. For better or for worse, even if people have the time and they have the skill, most people don't think in terms of charts and graphs and complex visualizations. They want tools that make them feel like they're getting access to information without making them feel as though they're in an analytics tool. So how do you solve this problem? How do you get beyond this notion of only 3% of the decisions that are made actually have data behind them? Well, what you do is you anticipate those questions, right? You do it by taking a step back and figuring out what is it that people care about? What is the information that they are most likely to need right there in the moment? And you develop a mechanism of answering those questions before they're even asked. You do it by using a language that people already understand, not complex visualizations and reports, but simple cards about the core objects that matter most. Things like guests, things like shipments, customers, claims, and products. Now, these may not be the objects that are core to your business. Matter of fact, I assume that they're not in most cases. But mark my words, there isn't a single thing about your business. There's no core concept that can't be boiled down to its bare essentials to help people make real-time decisions just in this way. Everyone knows what a business card is. What you're looking at right now are HyperCards. So we talked about the what. Now let's talk about the where. How do we get these HyperCards? How do we get this information to the people where they need it, when they need it? What's the best tool to deliver information to your workforce? Well, the best tool is the tool that people are already using, the applications and websites that they're already visiting. Now, if your teams are like most others, and if any of you are anything like me, most of the time you're going to spend in these core common everyday applications: Microsoft Office, email, Slack, Salesforce, Workday. Once in a while, you get people to log into a business intelligence tool, but that's rare, right? Most of the time, people are going to be in these common everyday applications, and they're not going to dig. They're not going to leave those applications in order to find insights that aren't presented to them. So if you want to deliver intelligence everywhere, if you want to deliver intelligence to everyone, you need to work with these tools. You need to embrace these applications and websites. And that is what HyperIntelligence does. HyperIntelligence works without any coding or development to inject insights in the form of HyperIntelligence cards directly into the applications that people use every day. This is what we call a zero-click solution, which scans websites and applications for keywords that are relevant to your business and the decisions that are going to be made on a minute-by-minute basis, prompting the user to learn more about those keywords by highlighting them and prompting them to be aware that there's information that they can retrieve without leaving the site or the application that they're currently on. Now, before we go any further, I just want to show you exactly what this looks like in practice. Okay, I want to start with a simple use case. I just want to show you how HyperIntelligence can enrich even a simple Google search, and then we'll get into some business use cases so you can really see the power of how it can change people's decision making. Let me begin by showing you the HyperIntelligence plugin. This is an extension to Chrome or Microsoft Edge that gives me access to all of the HyperIntelligence cards that have been made available to me. Now, in this particular case, I'm going to play around a little bit with the university's HyperCard. And this is coming from our enterprise data store, and it's giving me all the information about colleges and universities in the US. And as you can see, as I begin to search, it's now bringing me information about these institutions, the location, the undergraduate enrollment, the admissions rates, SAT scores, graduate outcomes, all information that's likely to be coming from multiple different sources, but is now available to me in a single form, in a single card, right? But this isn't really what I want. I don't really want to have to search for the keywords that I'm interested in. What I want to be doing is I'll just do a quick search here for colleges in Virginia. All right, now what HyperIntelligence is doing behind the scenes, right, is it's actually scanning the results. It's scanning the HTML that's coming back in my search results. And what it's doing is it's looking for those keywords. It's looking for those names of colleges and universities. And when it finds one, it highlights it for me. It prompts me as a user to know, hey, there's more information here behind University of Virginia. And you can see here's my HyperCard. Here's George Mason, right? What's happening here at sub-second speed is that the plugin is actually searching for any keyword that it can find that matches what I have in the database. And every time it finds one, it highlights the text and shows me a HyperIntelligence card. Now, this is interesting, right? You can see how this can kind of be useful if I'm searching for colleges for my kids. But let's go ahead and look at this from a business point of view. I'm going to come out to the MicroStrategy website. And I will show you our HyperIntelligence demonstration for Salesforce. All right, so once again, you can see, right, that as long as I'm accessing Salesforce through Chrome or Edge, HyperIntelligence has the ability to go out and scan the page for keywords from my enterprise data store, scan it for things like accounts, scan it for things like account owners and contacts and products. And every time it finds one, every time it finds something on the page, I get highlighted text. And now suddenly this simple search page from Salesforce has given me all the information about my accounts, all my information about my products, all my information about the companies I'm doing business with, and all the information about my contacts, right? So the limitation here is only the creativity of anticipating the kinds of questions that people are likely to ask when they're using Salesforce. Same type of deal. I'll come out here. I'll show you what it looks like on Workday. I turn HyperIntelligence on, and now in my org chart view, I've got HyperIntelligence cards on my employees, right? And I can get all the information that I might otherwise need to get from multiple different applications without ever having to leave the application where I do most of my work. Last one, I'll show you what it looks like in Microsoft Office. Any application that I can access through a browser, any application that I can access on the web, any website that I visit, all I need to do is turn on or off HyperIntelligence cards, and suddenly I've got an experience that is 100 times faster and 100 times smarter. And that's it in a nutshell. HyperIntelligence allows me to boil the complexity of my enterprise data store down to the barest essentials, and to anticipate the questions that my workforce is most likely to ask and present them with the answers to those questions at sub-second speed, wherever they are, without requiring them to so much as swivel chair to another application. Our customers have highly complex data storage infrastructures, and HyperIntelligence can capture the value of all of it and make it accessible anywhere. And not only do cards bring intelligence directly into the applications that people are already using, they actually go one step further. You saw in the demonstration, cards don't just include information, they also include actions. You can create context-sensitive hyperlinks as part of the cards themselves, links that'll trigger the next best action that a user is likely to take. So, for example, an opportunity card can include an action to sign off on a quote. An employee card can include an action to approve an employee review in Workday. A contact card can be used to add leads to a campaign or kick off an email. All these applications and workflows suddenly tied together in a way that makes everybody faster and more productive. So now it's time to talk about all the ways that we make available for users to access HyperCards. What I went through for you in the demonstration was HyperIntelligence for Web. This is the extension for Chrome and Microsoft Edge that enriches any site or application that's accessible over the web. We also make HyperIntelligence available for mobile on iOS and Android. And we have a special dedicated plugin for desktop Microsoft Office clients, Outlook in particular. So let's talk about those for a moment. The HyperIntelligence for mobile application integrates directly with calendar and search features to allow a user to basically carry the entire enterprise in his or her pocket. The app not only allows you to quickly find insights on any subject captured by Hyper, it'll also proactively notify you of any relevant information that it has on upcoming appointments and calendar events. So whatever you need to know about your next meeting, Hyper for Mobile will make sure that you have it in the palm of your hand. And of course, I've got to point out the system also has an offline mode, so you can still get to your HyperCards even if you don't have a connection. And we've talked a lot about search today, and we've also included a feature on mobile that leverages the speed and flexibility of HyperIntelligence to deliver a barcode reader behind which you can add information from anywhere in your enterprise data layer. Let's take a look at what that looks like. See, next to search, we've got the scan option there. Scan the barcode, and immediately a HyperIntelligence card for that product comes up. And just to provide you with one more example of how those enterprise workflows can be sped up with HyperIntelligence, here's an example of how from Outlook, I can use HyperIntelligence to immediately move from a meeting request to add a prospect to a campaign in Salesforce. Here's my context-sensitive link. Brings me right to Salesforce. My contact is preloaded, and I've added to the campaign. Okay, so let's review. We're trying to get to intelligence everywhere, and we're trying to overcome a timing limitation, a skills limitation, and a behavior limitation. HyperIntelligence has made all my applications smarter by injecting instant insights wherever I happen to be working, from email to Salesforce to surfing the web. I don't need to understand charts, and I don't need to download reports. I am, however, prompted automatically whenever my enterprise data layer has something interesting to tell me. And not only that, I can use the same applications to speed up my workflows even more with one-click actions that I can take directly from my HyperCards, which are, again, available to me anywhere. And maybe the most important thing is that I've enforced a common language in my organization. When you deploy HyperIntelligence, it ensures that everybody's working off the same version of the data, the same definitions, the same metrics, and it doesn't matter if one employee spends all his or her time in Salesforce and another just uses email and Slack. This creates trust. It creates, it eliminates friction and just makes everyone more productive. Now, at this point, you're probably thinking, HyperIntelligence is providing so much value, and it's so flexible in terms of where it can be integrated that it must be pretty difficult to architect and administer. Well, no, it's actually incredibly simple. It's really only 3 steps. First, connect to your data, either on-prem or in the cloud, using any one of MicroStrategy's more than 200 out-of-the-box gateways. Second is actually to build your HyperCards using very simple drag and drop workflows. The platform comes with a number of HyperCard templates that'll get you started, but it's actually highly intuitive, familiar interface that lets you mix and match styles and objects with ease, like list attributes, matrices, plain text, images, and ring charts. And then finally, step 3, deploy to the organization. Now, this is all done through MicroStrategy Workstation, which runs on both Mac and Windows. And speaking of deployment, I want to point out something very, very important. HyperIntelligence sits on top of the MicroStrategy enterprise security layer, which means that you build a card once, and you control exactly who has access to the information on those cards, regardless of how or where it's deployed. Meaning, for example, if your data is segmented regionally and individuals only have access to the data in their particular regions, you build a global card, you build it one time. And the system will only present the HyperCards for rows in the data that the current user is allowed to see. So same for object level security. When you build an employee card, for example, and you've determined that compensation data should only be visible to certain people, again, you build the card one time. The system will automatically take care to present or not present certain attributes on a card depending upon who the user is. And in HyperIntelligence for web, you can also dictate which sites a given card will or will not work on if for some reason you don't want a card that behaves the same way on every single site. So as we begin to wrap up, for the past 30 years, MicroStrategy has had a single mission, and that's intelligence everywhere. HyperIntelligence gives organizations the tool set that they need to deliver on this vision and drive value across the entire business. So as we begin to wrap up, for the past 30 years, MicroStrategy has had a single mission, and that's intelligence everywhere. HyperIntelligence gives organizations the tool set they need to deliver on this vision and drive value for the entire business, 100% of the organization. Hyper isn't meant only for the data literate or those with the time and the skill that you need in order to conduct your own complex analyses. It really is intelligence for everyone across the organization. With HyperIntelligence, teams can become more customer-centric by rolling out account cards that surface customer information anytime that customer is mentioned in any context. It can improve existing processes by cutting down the time it takes to make decisions and take necessary actions, and can even help to proactively eliminate risks by alerting users when threshold conditions are met and things need attention. We invented this product 2 years ago, and what amazes us is the variety and the impact of the use cases that our customers continue to come up with. And throughout MicroStrategy World, you're going to get a chance to see a good many of those. And here's the best part of all. HyperIntelligence has a host of new features for MicroStrategy 2021, many of which you'll hear about throughout the day. And our new software as a service offering, Hyper.Now, lets you get up and running with HyperIntelligence in under an hour. You can try it for free for 90 days by going to microstrategy.com/hyperintelligence. And with that, I want to thank you all very, very much for your time, and I hope you have a great experience at MicroStrategy World.